Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Don Baldwin, Director of Marketing at eTrain. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to Webinar Wednesday. Today, we have an interesting presentation on how to build immersive microsimulations in less than 10 minutes. And I'd like to introduce to you all Ben Barnard, Director of Artwork. He'll be presenting for us today. And before we get started, I do want to encourage everyone to participate via the Q&A box below. We have about 15 minutes of your time here today. We promise to finish up on time, and we will try and answer all questions during the webinar. And if not, we do encourage you to send those over to us via the follow-up email that you'll receive from me. Without further ado, Ben.
All right. Thank you, Don. I'm going to start off. This is actually, by the way, this is about making the perfect cup of coffee. So I'm going to start off by creating an encounter, and I'm going to give it a number for right now. Encounters could be named anything you want, and if I ever wanted to change it, I can. So I start that off, and I'm going to add my first custom image here. This is going to be my scene. So I have the coffee maker, I have the pods here on the left. I'm going to click save. And we need to be able to click on things in the scene. So I'm going to start that. I'm going to create some highlights. I'm going to make one for the water. And I'm going to drag that over here. And I just want to ask the users a question. We're going to check the water. Check the water. And that's the choice that the user is going to see. They're going to choose to make that. And when they do this correctly, it's going to move on in the scene. So I'm going to click that button there. And then I'm going to edit the feedback. So anytime the users make a correct or incorrect choice, it'll say correct or incorrect. And I'm just going to add a little bit of feedback here in response to that. So I want to make sure we always check the water level before we start the coffee maker. And I'm going to add a wrong choice, and wrong choices and correct choices. You can have any number of choices presented to the user and any number of objects. So I'm just going to add an additional object here for the lid. And I'm going to drag that over. And it's already made a click for me. And this is the choice that the user is going to see. So I'm just going to edit that real quick. I'm going to close the lid and start the machine. And then we're going to, again, edit that feedback. Actually, before I do that, make sure it is incorrect, because I want this one to be an incorrect choice. I don't want them to do that just yet. And then I will edit that feedback. And there we go. There we go. So we don't want to close this just yet and start it because we don't have the pod in there. So that'll be the first state. I have two choices here. And just at the very beginning of this, I want to just present the user with a little bit of information. So I'm going to add a little display tip window here at the very beginning, just to kick things off. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to duplicate my sim. And I don't need that display tip here, so I'm going to delete that. And I have a bunch of objects in here, and I'm going to reuse as much as possible. I don't need the one for the lid this time around, but I'm going to take this one for the water. I'm going to drag it over here to these pods. I'm going to rename it pods. And I'm going to present the users with the choice to select the pod they want. And again, this is a correct choice, so it's going to advance the state. And we're going to update that feedback text. All right. So going to duplicate this one more time. And at this point, we have the pod. I want to make sure that we load that pod in there. So I'm going to reuse again that highlight. Drag it over here. Click save. Again, we're going to load that. We're just going to leave that as pod. Singular. And then the text is going to be load the pod. We're going to advance the state again. We're going to update that feedback text. So make sure I copy that and paste that in there. So they're going to load it with their flavor of choice, and then they're going to close the machine. And I am going to duplicate that step one more time. And at this point, I want a change in my scene because, you know, I've checked the water's fine. I've grabbed my pods, I've loaded the pod, but now I want to close the lid. And that was one of the instructions as feedback for the last state. So in this scene, I'm going to edit the background. I'm going to update that image. And that lid is going to be closed. And I am going to reuse this highlight here. Rename it Start Button. And text is going to be Start the coffee maker. Again, we're going to advance the state when we do this correct choice. And I'm going to copy and paste my feedback in here. Now we have started the machine, which we need to wait a few minutes for it to do its thing. And I'm going to duplicate this one more time. And before I do a couple of things here, I'm going to actually update this image because we've activated the coffee maker. The coffee's done. So I want that coffee to be in the glass here. It's going to load. And I want to have a display tip here at the beginning just to prompt the user. So copy this, paste it in there, center my text, and click OK. And again, I'm going to grab that object and edit that highlight, just drag it down here to the coffee because I want to add some cream and sugar to my coffee. And we're going to rename this coffee. And we're going to add the cream and sugar. That's the correct choice. And we're going to add my feedback here. It's good. And then we need one more state where we've done all those things. So I'm going to edit my background, update my image one more time because it should look like I've added the proper amount of cream and sugar. And that coffee is as white can be. So I've added the exact amount of cream and sugar. Perfect. And I don't need that highlight anymore. And I'm just going to have a little message here. I'm going to edit this display tip. Click save. So they're going to run through all this. They're going to make all these choices. And when they get to the end, they're just going to have that little message that pops up right before the end of the sim. So before I preview it, I'm just going to check to make sure that my clicks are working as intended. Only take a moment. Just making sure that I advance the state for each one of these. And they look right. So far, we're good. All right. So I'm back here at the first state. I'm going to save and preview. So we have my instructions. I have my wrong choice here with my incorrect feedback. And I have my correct choice where I'm checking the water. I've done that correctly. And then I'm going to select my pod. That's good. And I'm going to load the pod into the machine. Lid closes. Start the coffee maker. It's going to do its thing. Coffee's there, prompting the user what they should do next. We're going to add the cream and sugar. Get some feedback. We've added the cream and sugar. We have a final message, and that's the end of the sim. And now we have the debrief for this encounter, and then a final debrief at the end of the sim. Now, there you go. Back to you, Don.
Thank you, Ben. And now that we know how to make the perfect coffee in less than 10 minutes, it does look like we do have a few questions here. So the first question I see is, what can you use to build a microsim? And then once it's built, what device can they be taken on?
So, as far as devices go, they run on anything. It's all web-based, so you can run it on your phone, on your iPad, your laptop. They run on VR as well. And as for what you use to make your sim, you can make it with just about anything. If you have images or a video, you can turn that into simulation. So when I made this, I mean, I just took my iPhone, I grabbed photos in my kitchen, and I used that to make a sim.
Fantastic. Okay. And the next question I have is, how can I have a microsim built for my organization?
Well, you can contact us and we can take it from there.
Are they able to build them themselves?
Absolutely. You can license the tools and you can make any number of sims that you want.
Awesome. Thanks again. Just to be cognizant of time, I do want to thank everyone for their time here today. I do encourage attendees to come to next month's webinar Wednesday. And if you have any outstanding questions, please feel free to contact me back at my follow-up email. And also feel free to contact us on our website at eTrainETC.com. And we do post recorded webinars to our YouTube channel. That link will be sent within the email. eTrainETC is our YouTube channel. And if you found this presentation particularly interesting, we would love to schedule a one-on-one demo with you where we can show exactly what we can do for your organization. I look forward to speaking with all of you via email or phone and connecting soon. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.